So you've probably watched my previous video where I talk about the cost of starting a layer farm of 1,000 chickens, and you're thinking to yourself, whoa, I think I can handle that. I certainly have the ability to do 1,000 layers. But you're thinking in your head, how much would I actually make from that? How much would I earn from that in a month? Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be sharing with you more than just that, not only a month, because we have to even out the entire cost over the entire project. So stick around right through the end. First, I'm going to be giving you this cost in US dollars. Also, you have to note that all the costs I use are for my country, where I am at the moment, and that's Uganda. Now that means that the costs could actually vary quite a lot, because how much a tray of eggs sells for in your country, maybe, I don't know, maybe Liberia, maybe the Philippines, maybe Europe, is very different from how much it sells for over here. Also, you need to remember that the cost of production also varies so much. The cost of maize, some people call it corn, is so different from my country to other countries, but it might give you a rough estimate and a rough idea. So you need to think about that too. So we're going to first consider how much you'll be making on a monthly basis, because a lot of you guys, I know, what you want to do is run away from your day job and you want to focus on a farm. You know, you just want to be like me right now. You know, I'm on my farm. You know, I could sit down over here for an entire week, for an entire 2 weeks and do nothing, you know, just supervise what's happening on the farm. That's what you want to do. So you are thinking to yourself, how much will I earn every month? Let's go through that at the very beginning. So you have to think about the production. If you're raising commercial layers, like proper commercial layers, not masquerading, you're not getting, let's say, dual purpose birds and using them as layers, but proper commercial layers. With commercial layers can give you up to 330 eggs every year, sometimes even up to 340 eggs every year. So they are very prolific at laying. Now, these layers, you usually will keep them between 18 weeks up to about 80 weeks. I've kept a batch before up to 90 weeks. I've seen someone keep them up to 100 weeks. I've seen a few people keep them up to around 70 weeks. But the idea is that let's take 80 weeks just to be conservative. You could keep them longer so that you get more money out of them, depending on your production cost. But 80 weeks is a good average. So if you're going to keep birds up to 80 weeks, from the 18th week when they do start laying to the 80th week, they will average at about 85%. So that means for the 1,000 birds that you will have in laying, 850 of them will be giving you eggs. So you're going to be getting an average of 850 eggs every day over that period. Now for us here in Uganda, every tray of eggs has 30 eggs. I don't know how many eggs it has over there in your country, but it has 30 eggs over here. So that means every day you'll get an average of 28.3 trays. And every tray over here in Uganda averages about $3. Now this might change a lot. Even here in Uganda it changes. Sometimes it goes higher, sometimes lower, but I've taken an average of what I sell at around the area that I am, $3. That means if you sell all these trays every day, you're going to make $84.90. And that means that over a month, that's 30 days on average, you're going to make $2,547 in sales of eggs. Now, of course, sales is not what you take home. You also have expenses to run. So on an average month, you're going to have 4 major types of expenses. The first one is the chicken feed itself, which is the highest expense. The second one is the labor, the guys who are working in the unit. So that labor cost is also going to come into play. The third one are the vaccines, yeah? So vaccines, drugs, and vitamins, you know, because you're going to vaccinate the birds against Newcastle and fowlpox every month, and you're going to deworm them every month. And after that, you need to give them vitamins. So you're going to need those. And then number 4, you're going to have the smaller costs, like the feed for the guys around, transport. I would call them other costs. So then if we take the feed cost at an average of 125 grams per bird per day, which is actually a bit of an exaggeration, because between the 18th week and the 26th week, the feed consumption is still increasing. So actually at the 18th week, you're still at about 90 grams per bird per day. It's only around the 26th week that you get to 125 grams per day. But I've taken that because that's the maximum we can ever consume. We don't want to, you know, assume that you could consume a little bit less and then it actually turns out to be more. So if you're going to be consuming 125 grams per bird per day, that means you're going to consume about 125 kilograms for your 1,000 birds every day, and in a month that turns out to be 3,750 kilos. Now the cost per kilogram is about 40 cents. That's the cost per kilogram of the layer feed. And so the total cost of your feed over the month is $1,500. Next up is the labor cost. In my country, labor is honestly quite cheap. So for 1,000 birds, you're not going to spend too much. You're probably going to need only one worker. Yeah, and maybe someone to occasionally come and help with mixing the feed, but you don't need too many people, yeah? So for that, you'll spend about $54 every month. Third are the vaccines and the deworming. That is also quite cheap, honestly. The vaccines, the deworming, together with the vitamins that you're going to give to the birds. In total, that will cost you about $20 for the entire month. And then finally, number 4, the miscellaneous. That's the transport, the feed for the guys, and any other costs that you might have around. That will get to about $70. So your expected expense on the entire month for the farm with 1,000 layers is going to be about $1,644. And if you take that away from your sales, then that means that your profit over the month is going to be about $903. I don't think that's terrible because, number 1, we've taken the worst case scenario in terms of how much feed can be consumed. It will certainly be less than that. Number 2, the feed cost, we've taken the average feed cost, but if you buy when the prices are low, you even get to save more. And number 3, we've taken an average cost of, eggs. It could be way more than that. Yeah. For me, for example, this last year, 2023, I sold at higher than average for about 85% of the year. So I certainly made way more money than what you're going to get over here. Now, of course, that's not a very good representation of the entire project because it doesn't give you the entire picture. Remember, we're only giving average monthly costs. But it's not only average monthly costs that you have at the farm. There are other costs. Remember, you've raised the birds from day 1 up to week 18 when they start laying. All those costs have to be put inside here. Number 2, you've also built a chicken house. So if you've built a chicken house and raised the birds, at the end of the project, how much do you expect to have made? I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's go into it. So from our previous video, which I'll actually link right here so that you can check it out, you will know that we had 2 main types of expenses. Number 1 was the chicken house itself. And then secondly, the cost of raising the birds up to that point. So that includes the cost of the birds, the brooding, the feeding, and then all the equipment up to that point. When we added all that, it came to about $8,217. So keep that at the back of your mind. Yeah, this is the cost of raising the birds up to 18 weeks. Also, we need to find out our cost between the 18th week and the 80th week, and also we need to find out our profit between the 18th week and the 80th week. Remember, we only did 1 month, yeah? So if we're going to do 18th week to 80th week, that's about 14 and a half months, yeah? It's 14 and a half months of production that we're going to have. And then remember, our average monthly expenses was $1,644. So if you multiply that times the 14 and a half months over which you're going to raise the birds, our expenses from the 18th week to the 80th week will turn out to be $23,838. So when we add this to our expense of 0 to 18 weeks, which was $8,217, our total expenses for the entire project are going to be $32,055. So how about the sales? Yeah, our total project sales will be our monthly average of the sales times the number of months we sell, which is 14 and a half. And our average monthly sales was $2,547. So our total sales over the entire production time will be $36,931 and 50 cents. So that means that the profit over the entire project from beginning to the end will be $4,876 and 50 cents. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to you. Yeah. Now this is your profit over the entire project from the time you build the chicken house to when you cull the birds. Also, we haven't calculated the amount of money which you're going to actually get from culling the flock. Culling the flock means selling the birds off. Yeah, you're going to be selling your 1,000 birds. You're going to get some money from it, but we shall not calculate that. We'll assume that maybe that's money you're going to be using to bring in your next flock. Yeah, so it will probably cancel out the next flock, but it's actually going to be a substantial amount of money if you put it into consideration. But also remember that this is your very first project. Now on your subsequent projects, you're going to have less costs because you're not going to have the cost of building the chicken house. So that means that your gross profit is going to be already higher by $2,700, which is the cost of building the chicken house. But number 2, you're not going to have the other expenses of feeders, drinkers, those one-time expenses of things that you buy and you never have to buy again on the farm. So if you add these one-time expenses onto your next profit for the next season, that means that your profit over the next period will be about $8,151 and 50 cents, which I honestly think is quite substantial for someone who is raising just 1,000 layers, yeah? Over this whole cycle, you're making 8,151 US dollars. I think that's a substantial amount. But it could even be better. Imagine that you buy the feed and store it for when the price raises. So you don't buy the feed at an average cost, but you buy it when the price is even lower, you know, during harvest. For example, right now it's harvest time, people have started to harvest. So at around this time, you can buy the feed, store it. What that means is that later on, you're going to not pay a lot for your maize. So if you do this and buy the feed when the price is very low, then the project is going to end up being profitable in terms of 9,850 US dollars. 9,850 US dollars for a 1,000 layer project. Guys, I think that's good. I honestly think that's good. That's good enough profit to make me start a farm of 1,000 layers. Very, very good. So tell me what you think about it. If you haven't watched my video about the actual cost of starting a 1,000 layer farm, I'll leave a link to that video right here so you can check it out. Catch you very soon with another video. Bye-bye.